Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are going to be discussing 3 more chapters of Words of Radiance, Book 2 of the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. We read chapters 69, 70, and 71, wherein, mostly Kaladin and Shallan are stuck in a chasm for this whole time. And they have some fun times walking through the chasm and getting not exactly closer. And then in the third chapter, I guess we get a different point of view of people waiting for the people stuck in the chasm. So it's a thing. I'm Data, and with me today is
Jamie,
Jack, and Joe.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know that next week and possibly for a bit after that, we will not have new episodes, and it's a whole thing. We'll get into a little more after we're done with this episode, but I wanted to make sure I put that up front so that everyone would hear and be aware. So 3 chapters we read for this time, guys. What did you all think of these 3 chapters?
Yeah, well, it's a bit of excitement, isn't it? You know, coming back in from who the hell's down the bottom of the chasm now. I think I like that it was just Kaladin and Shallan. I think we had a few different opinions of who was actually down there at the end of the last episode. So I think it was, I like how it panned out with just the 2 of them. I'm very sad for, everyone else who went down there and did not survive. But I like this whole, I don't really know how I saved the other person as well. Like, that's pretty cool. And they're both kind of going through the same thing. Obviously, by the time we get to the end of these chapters, there's a bit more information that Kaladin has available to him that he did not earlier regarding Shallan's Shardblade and questions and things like that. I like seeing, like, they clearly very dislike each other at the very beginning. And I think they're still not the best of friends, but they, in the last chapter, have that appreciation for each other. And it's like, actually, not all is as it seems. You don't really know, and I've definitely judged the book by the cover throughout the time knowing each character. So I think this will be good. This is one of these things that has to happen, and it's probably good that it's these 2 that are going to be, all right, well, you've got a shard blade, clearly something's going on. You know what? I have abilities too, if my friend would come back to me. I'm excited that we'll see, hopefully, a bit of progression, a bit more something with these 2. The chasms sound terrifying, with the chasm fiend coming to get them, and the big eye at the end looking at them, trying to get them out of that little crevice they're in. Like, I was really hoping that Shallan would, like, whip out a rock wall or something that they could hide behind and the chasm fiend wouldn't find them, but obviously she has to draw that, and that would be a difficult one to explain. But, we have got to the point of desperation where someone has to reveal some powers here. So that's kind of interesting. Cool that we'll have some more information about the Shattered Plains coming back. I was like, well, Shallan has to make it back now. She knows things. So that would be cool to see how that unfolds. But overall, good chapters. I definitely feel like we're moving through and gonna find out some stuff. So I'm excited to keep going.
Yeah, I was curious how you guys were going to react when last time we had a bunch of theories about, Dalinar and Adolin and Kaladin and Shallan all ending up down in the chasm. And so when it came down to being just Kaladin and Shallan, I was curious what you guys would think. But I'm glad that you're in favor of this. These are 2 people who they could use some time together to work their stuff out.
Yeah. And it's one hell of a situation to be under, to have to work it out. You guys have to get through this together. You need each other. No one's doing this on their own. So be friends.
Be friends. You also touched on something that is kind of a serious deal, where like Syl seems to be just gone now, and that's not good.
Yeah, No, and I mean, Syl was already having some issues, and I don't know whether there's a still Kaladin needs to make his choice about what he's doing or what. He was able to absorb a bit of Stormlight, it seems like, maybe, but yeah, like where is she? What's happened in that with their bond? Can she just not get down there? But Patton's down there, so yeah, Kaladin needs to work some stuff out, I think, for himself, which maybe spending time with Shallan and realizing that he doesn't know everything might help that.
Yeah.
See, I hope we see Phil soon. I mean, he even full named Phil. I was like, whoa, this is getting serious.
You don't see that often, huh?
No.
Yeah, good, fun chapters, but it's like, now I'm just like, all right, I just needed to see what happens after this because that was a hell of a thing to leave it on. Yeah, I was surprised that we spent so much time of just them and only that one little snippet back at camp. I guess hopefully that means they're not that we're packing everything about these chasms into this section. We're not going to pad this out because if they're down there until the very climax, that's going to be awkward as shit. Because we still got a decent amount of book left to go. But no, it was good. I guess this is really the only plausible situation in which the two of them would sit down and have a conversation with each other without storming off.
Yeah, you're right.
So it was nice of them to finally get down there and sort out their issues. Like they seem to, at least Shallan sorts out, okay, he does have a point about some things. He's wrong about other things, and she rightfully calls him out on those. But she says, okay, some of the things you're saying are true, and you got a point. Other things you need to take step back. I don't know if he acknowledged that. I can't remember if he acknowledged that about her. I read these a while ago. But yeah, and I do love a good old fashioned monster movie. So the Chasm Fiend pursuit is that is my thing. Like Jamie mentioned it, peeking out the hole and looking up, and there's the eye just staring at them. Like, how smart are these things? Because that's scary as shit. And yeah. Where is Syl? What happened? What's going on? Once again, we're in a situation it's like we have so many questions and no answers, and like no context for them either. So, yeah, I need to know more. Damn it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. We all want to know more about what's happening here. But yeah, I like the comparison to a monster movie because this is totally like a section out of some like, I mean, it's almost a kaiju thing, but you're
or like
stuck down
Jurassic
here.
Park vibes.
Yeah, probably closer to Jurassic Park. Yeah,
Jurassic Park. Yeah, it's like they're separated. They're trying to get back to everyone else, and that damn T-Rex won't leave them alone.
Yeah, damn that T-Rex.
Only the T-Rex.
Well, yeah, when you said looking and seeing the eye, that was my first thought. I was like, oh man, it's like a T-Rex thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's sorry, I almost want to say something. There's I was telling Joe before we started at the convention. The game this time, like when Joe and I went, the game was it was like a scavenger hunt for hats. You had to find these hats everywhere in order to get a prize. And this year, what they did was you were given a passport, and there were places on the passport for stuff to be stamped. So there was a bunch of booths in the exhibitor area that had stamps to encourage you to visit the different exhibitor booths, which actually I think backfired because there ended up being like huge lines of people just wanting to get stamps and blocking other booths and stuff. But anyway, and then the panel rooms were like Roshar and Scadrial and Cell, and you would go and like if you went to a panel afterwards, you'd get a stamp on that page. And you collected stamps, and when you filled up stuff with stamps, you got these cards. And there were 3 separate stories told on the cards. And these are supposed to be like canon stories. We may actually have to read these at some point. But the reason I get into the whole thing was because of the 3 stories, there's one, I think it's called The Chasm Friends Get a Pet. And it's like a little kid sort of story told from the perspective of some chasm fiends. And so that's what it made me think of when you were talking and we're talking about like the scary thing with the chasm fiend here. It was like
that's horrific. The chasm fiend's just like I got these 2 little pets. And, oh God, it's stabbing me.
But yes, we the stories. I'm not so sure about the chasm friends, but the other stories are supposed to be like canon. So we may have to read them at some point and talk about them. And I don't know how I'm gonna take pictures of these cards and send them to you guys to read or something. But
just you got time. Just type it all out in a PDF, right?
there's 50. It's like you had to collect 54 cards for each story. So it's a lot of cards between the 3 stories.
Sure, someone. So has anyone uploaded these yet? Reddit, like listeners, anyone got these?
I bet you somebody has them. Yeah.
Yeah. In a world of chasm fiends, be a chasm friend.
But so we may get another perspective on the chasm fiends once we see from their angle. You never know.
Yeah, I really enjoyed these chapters. We've got Kaladin and Shallan kind of maybe doing what I've theorized, that they may become friends after this. I feel like somebody said this last time we recorded. It's like you can't go through something like this and not be friendly afterwards. And so I see that in their future for sure, right? I mean, facing off against the chasm fiend possibly, like that's got to bond two people together, like much like a mountain troll. And yeah, Shallan revealing that she has this shard blade. That's pretty substantial. Of course, she could have revealed it way beforehand, and they could have used the shard blade to, I don't know, carve out rock and climb up or something, like something that makes more sense than wandering around in a chasm. But whatever, you do you, Shallan. You hide that shard blade away. Whatever you want to do. And we've got Syl gone. Yeah, that's sad. I really hope that she's not gone. We did have that, I guess, remnant of God telling Kaladin that he would kill her. So hopefully that she didn't die. That would not be good. I feel like that's probably not the case. I mean, these books, we've got 3 more of these books, and I feel like Syl is pretty popular. And so I feel like Syl's pretty popular. I don't feel like she's dead, but at the same time, I'm not the writer, so I don't know what happens. I'm also not allowed to read ahead, so I don't know what happens. But I feel like she'll come back. How that has to happen, I don't know. Like Jamie said, like, does that mean Kaladin has to somehow keep two conflicting promises? Like, how does that work? How does she come back? Also, without her presence, like, I know that before there have been been words that have come to Kaladin. But I always assumed that was because of Syl's presence. Like, how is he going to know innately how to say these words unless somehow the bond inside of him, the investiture inside of him, speaks the words to himself? Like, I don't get how speaking the words works, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, none of them, because even if I get the feeling that even if you knew the words to say, if you didn't speak them in the right way, it wouldn't like do anything, Like, I feel like maybe it's almost like the singing that the Parshendi do, like the different emotional singing. It's like if you didn't know the words, even if you knew the words of the song or how to hum it, if you weren't like attuning to it in the right way, then it wouldn't. I get the impression that it wouldn't really work. It wouldn't be a form of communication, right? And so it is interesting to me how much of what they do is wrapped up in like. What am I trying to say? I guess like the way they use their investiture, it's all wrapped up not only in words but also in like knowledge of the power itself. I feel like they have to. I don't know. I'm kind of just going off on a tangent here, but anyway, let's get back to the chapter summaries. Yeah, getting the perspective of them just kind of waiting is sad. Interesting that Dalinar, which I mean I get, but Dalinar's just like, yeah, they're dead. Like I get what you're doing. I get why you feel the need to keep it going, but yeah, to me they are dead. That was a very realistic perspective, but also kind of a sad perspective. Made sense that Adolin was not around because I assume he thinks Shallan is dead too, so he probably is not super thrilled about that. But yeah, definitely interested to see what happens next. Giant chasm fiend. They're stuck in a wall. Even if they make it out, like, are they going to make it out in time for the rain to not get them? Like, there's a lot of stuff going on that is pretty. I can't think of the word. It's pretty apparent that they're in a sticky situation.
You pointed something that it reminded me I meant to ask you guys. So Shallan really does wait a while until she really does not want to reveal that she has this shard blade, right? She's gonna hope that they make it. Even after the chasm fiend starts chasing them, it's not until like Kaladin's like, I'm gonna go out there. She's like, okay, well here, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. And she's so if Kaladin did have his powers, do we think he would have waited as long to reveal, or would he ever have revealed them to Shallan?
I feel like he would have used them like he had been doing, like enough to get the job done, but not enough that maybe somebody would notice what he was doing. Like, that's what he would try.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep, same. Yeah, he's been having doubts about, do I tell people I'm a Radiant or not? So, if push came to shove, this might have been just the tipping point. It's like, all right, well, now you know.
I was like, does he wait till she's asleep and then he flies up and like charts out the right way for them to go and then flies back down, and in the morning he's like, I know which way to go. That might be a way to keep it secret.
Ties a rope to her ankle, flies up, and then like she wakes up. So what the fuck was that? He's just like, I don't know. I just sort of woke up and we're back up top again.
Yeah, well,
how weird is that?
I mean, they obviously are trying to trick each other with how they survived in general. So he could have just waited for her to go to sleep and then been like, flew her up there and been like, yeah, a big wind. It must have been God. A big gust of wind pulled us up and out of the chasm.
The chasm fiend just threw us up here. I don't.
Like Stormfather's younger brother, Wind brother,
Storm Ted. Oh man, now all the ways he could try to keep his thing secret. It is funny how they're both just like, and somebody mentioned it. It's like they're like, yeah, I don't know how, and then in their own mind they're like, how did I save that person too? How weird. And they both think that the other one's just dumb enough to believe some stupid story. All right, I guess let's get into these chapters. Chapter 69 is nothing. And the epigraph is still part of that letter we've been reading. Race is captive. He cannot leave the system he now inhabits. His destructive potential is therefore inhibited. Okay, so I guess just, screw that system. As long as he can't get anywhere else.
Sorry, we locked him on this tiny backwater planet where he can't do no more trouble.
Oh, it does feel like that, doesn't it? Okay.
Yep.
And so last time the bridge collapsed, and we're at the same moment here as Kaladin is still falling, and he's freaking out. He tries to draw on some stormlight and he can't do it, and then he hears Syl scream, a terrified, painful sound, and in that moment he got a breath of stormlight, crashed to the bottom of the chasm, and everything went black. And then as he's waking up, he hears a distant voice like thunder say, "What have you done?" And he wakes up and Syl's not there, nobody's there. It takes him a minute to realize he's in the bottom of a chasm. He wonders. I like that one of his first thoughts after check yourself for wounds is Dalinar okay? My job is protecting Dalinar. Is he okay? Adolin had been running toward his dad. He managed to get to Dalinar, or had he managed to get to Dalinar before the bridge collapsed? He'd been wearing plate and had jumped at the end. And we know that they can jump across chasms with their plate. So there's some good jumping potential in there. And in the end, what we will find is that they look through the dead bodies. Kaladin needs to know, and he does not find Dalinar or Adolin. So at this moment, it appears that they may have both made it. We know later that Dalinar for sure made it because we see him in Chapter 71. And if Dalinar made it, presumably Adolin is the one who saved him. So Adolin would also have had to make it.
I feel like he would be, like Dalinar would be less likely to give up on Adolin. Like, he wouldn't just be like, well, Adolin's down the bottom of the chasm. Yeah, we're not going to attempt to rescue or anything. He's dead now. Move on. Adolin must be okay.
Yeah, I agree. That doesn't seem like Dalinar's style to just like leave his son there and be like, yeah, he's dead, I'm sure.
I mean, Adolin was wearing plate as well, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was wearing plate.
You think if he fell in the chasm, he's got a better chance of surviving than, say, Kaladin.
Yeah, I would certainly think so. And then someone comes around the corner, and it's Shallan with a spear, and she screams when she sees him. And he's like, hey, calm down, it's me. And she's like, holy crap, it is you. How? I don't know.
Oh, also, wasn't she like, was she talking to Pattern at that point, too?
He hears a voice, and presumably she must have been talking to Pattern, yeah.
Yeah, so that probably freaked her out more, was like she was in the middle of talking to Pattern, who nobody knows exists. And then, first of all, she thinks she's alone because she thinks everybody's dead. And then also, I was talking to Pattern, and somebody like could have overheard me. And it's like,
fair. And Kaladin is like, I don't even know what happened. And she goes, oh, somebody threw the emergency latch on the bridge. It topples the bridge into the chasm. And Kaladin's like, well, that's a stupid thing to have on a bridge. And she's like, well, I mean, not if like your men have retreated across the bridge and now the enemy are coming across. Like it's locked, so you can't throw it by accident, but you can release it quickly if you need to. Which is, I guess, what that guy did. That was a pretty slick assassination attempt, I have to say. And they're like, how did we survive? And Kaladin's like, I think I saw some wind spread or something. Maybe they like saved us somehow. And she's like, yeah, that makes complete sense.
I love that. They're both just like, yeah, that's how it happened. No need to look into it any farther.
And also, after they fell, like Kaladin heard the horns right before they fell. The Parshendi are attacking, and Shallan says she found a dead guy down here that had not been killed in the fall. So there had been a battle, and Dalinar's forces retreated. So yelling up there is not going to do any good. And she's like, "Oh, we should just wait here, right? Until they come and look for it." He's like, "Why would we do that?" Well, until they come look for us. Oh, they're not going to come look for us, are they? They assume that we're dead. We should be dead, basically. And so they decide they're going to have to find their way back. And before the high storm that comes tomorrow night, so that's coming up pretty quick, flash flood in a slot canyon, not good. And Dalinar's going to march right after the final high storm before the weeping. So if we wanted to wait for them to come, we would have to wait till after that. And that's not what we want to do. So let's get back, why don't we? And he's like, "Hey, do you want to take a minute to catch your breath before we go?" And my breath is quite well caught. If it's all the same to you, I'd rather be moving. Once we're back, we can sit sipping mulled wine and laugh about how silly it was for us to hurry all the way. I'd very much like to feel that foolish, wouldn't you? And so they're like, "Okay, we don't have a map. Let's go. We'll do our best." And we cut to like her perspective where she's very grumpy. Like Kaladin is Unlethi, so he's taller than her and he walks faster than her. And she's having to like rush to keep up. And he's not even offering to hold her pack. How rude. But at least this time he's like, "I'm not giving you my boots, by the way." And she's like, "Oh, look, see, I wore boots. It's all good." And at one point she's like, "Yeah, you ever notice how beautiful it is down here? There's these like tubular plants and all sorts of interesting stuff down here." And he's just like, "Yeah, no." But he does eventually reach out and take her pack. And she's like, "Oh, finally, thank you." And he notes that it'll take even longer than it took to get out here to get back because we can't cut through the middle of the plateau. We have to go around the side of all of them. And I love her comment, "Well, at least the companionship is pleasant." And he looks at her. She's like, "Well, for you, I mean." Oh, Shallan. And I will go like they have this kind of back and forth, but it's not really a friendly back and forth as they continue.
I mean, as much as possible, it's Shallan saying stuff and Kaladin going, and hoping she will shut up.
Yeah. She's like, "You seem to know a lot about the chasms." He's like, "Yep." Because the gloomy atmosphere matches your disposition, I assume.
Sure.
And eventually she needles him enough that he just calls her out like, "Oh, you're a light eyes. Everyone beneath you is just a plaything." She's like, "What? Where the hell did that come from?" And he basically is like, she's like, "Well, the stuff that happened to you is not my fault." And he's like, "It's the fault of your entire class. Each time one of us is defrauded, enslaved, beaten, or broken, the blame rests upon all of you who support it." And she's like, "Oh, the world isn't fair. What a huge revelation. Some people in power abuse those they have power over. Amazing. When did this start happening?" And so they're very different. They have very different perspectives on how society works. And I love that she points out, it's like, I think that's all just excuses. You're just a jerk. And maybe that's why people don't like you. Not because you're dark-eyed, but because you're a huge pain in the neck. And he just snorts and moves on. And she's like, "Hey, when have I ever oppressed you?" He's like, "Well, there was the time you took my boots." And she's like, "Oh, shit, he's right. All right." And he's like, "Look, I'm not holding a grudge about it. You're not as bad as the others from what I've seen. Let's just leave it there." And she's like, "Not as bad as the others. What a delightful compliment. Well, let's say you're right. I'm an insensitive rich woman. That doesn't change the fact that you're mean." And he shrugs, and she goes, "That's it? I apologize, and all I get in return is a shrug?" That wasn't an apology, by the way.
No, it was not.
Certainly was not.
Also, if you apologize in like the hopes that someone else will give you something in return, then it's not an apology anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
I've watched The Good Place.
And I like his response. "I'm starting to revise my opinion of you not being as bad as the others." And she's like, "You never liked me." It's like, "That's because I know you're lying all the time. The only time you seem honest is when you're insulting someone." And she's like, "Well, the only honest things I can say to you are insults." And he's just like, "Bah, why is it being around you makes me want to claw my face off?" And her response is, "I have special training and I collect faces." And then it turns out that they hear a sound, a scraping like rock on rock or maybe carapace on rock. And she's like, "Oh, we probably shouldn't have a shouting match in an echoing network of chasms, huh?" Yeah. It's getting closer, isn't it? Yeah. So, run? Yeah.
He just wants to be your chasm friend.
Yeah, he's a friendly guy. As far as we know.
That, I'm not going to let that go.
You just wait till we read the story. It's great. After that chapter, we get an image that Shallan has sketched of like the plants and crumblings and things that are down here. And I mean, really, she's just got some notes about like how the plant life down here is different from what she expected. But it's a cool little image. It gives you. There's even like a guy with a spear for scale. So it gives you an idea what it looks like down there, which is a first for us. I don't think we've ever gotten something to show us what it looks like. From a nightmare, which I think maybe multiple of you guessed that might be a chasm fiend, is a thing from a nightmare. So a good call, probably. The epigraph is, whether that was Tanavast's design or not, millennia have passed without race taking the life of another of the 16. While I mourn for the great suffering race has caused, I do not believe we could hope for a better outcome than this. I mean, all right then.
They locked him on a planet where there were no other shards, or where he'd already killed one who had, like the one he found there.
This is an excellent question. Really, I feel like maybe the more pertinent one is, though, how did we lock him up? And
yeah. Can we repeat that process?
Yeah. So they're running, just hauling ass, trying to get away from this chasm fiend. And eventually, like, Shallan starts to take the lead. And he's like, no, we don't have time to argue. And she's like, shut it, follow. And he, shockingly, I feel like he does. Maybe because it's more maybe because he can't let Shallan run off alone when he's the bodyguard person. But, you know.
Being chased by a giant lobster is probably not the time to have an argument.
I mean, the arguing is what drew the giant lobster in the first place. So
yeah.
And so they eventually find a place to stop for a second. And he's like, okay, we can't rest long. And she starts going back. He's like, what the hell are you doing? And she's like, I have to see it. We're so close. Are you insane? Probably.
Yeah, now is not the time, Shallan.
No. And so I like Kaladin. I love Kaladin's internal monologue here where he's like, damn it. I don't want to go over there. But what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to get back and tell Adolin, yeah, I totally let your betrothed wander off in the darkness alone and get eaten by chasm fiend. No, I did not go with her. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if he really wanted to lie bad, he could just say, hey, I woke up, there was no one else there, so I just came home. What's that? Yeah. Shallan fell down as well? Nah, man, didn't see her.
Your girlfriend fell? Oh, man. Oh, I'm so sorry. I would have looked harder if I'd known.
If only I had known. I mean, yeah. Hard to miss with that red hair. I'm surprised I missed her.
The chasm fiend probably ate her by now. Shame.
She was so nice too.
I really liked her. You know,
she was a good one. She was one of the good ones, Adolin. Hard to find. Anyway, how's it going?
So they get a look at him, and like Kaladin thinks like it's wrong. Like creatures that big should not be that like fast and agile. And it appeared to be eating the corpse of a fallen soldier. Oh, also after they've walked around a whole bunch, they end up like having backtracked at some point. Like Kaladin is not doing a great job of leading them, and that continues to be an issue as we continue. The face was like something from a nightmare. Evil, powerful, almost intelligent. Shallan, on the other hand, is like, hey, look at those spren around it. I've seen those. There's spren that look like small glowing arrows that surround the beast in schools. And Shallan says, those spren follow sky eels too. And then it's like, oh, he really likes that corpse, huh? Are they like carrion feeders by nature? But no, with those claws, those are meant for breaking shells. They probably live near wild chull. Go snack on some chulls. Oh my gosh, they gave out chull plushies with the VIP package at the convention. I got to show you guys a picture of.
Yeah, you'll have to Instagram the plushie.
They're very heavy, like they're filled with like weighted beads. Here's a copy this image here. Here's an image of like the whole VIP pack with a book and pin and what have you.
Oh my God! Look at his beady little eyes. Well, beady big eyes, really.
Yeah. So between my wife and I, we have two of these little guys now, and they are heavy, and also apparently the beads in them have a similar chemical signature to some sort of explosive, because it became a thing as people had these in their carry-on bags and were going through the airport, or like every one of them was getting pulled for like, and they had to do like a chemical examination on it. And so the Salt Lake City airport,
gosh,
flights were getting delayed and stuff because of all of these plushes that every single one had to be checked out.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Wow.
That is pretty amazing.
And so people started posting on, like Reddit and Instagram and stuff like, put these in your checked luggage. They will get pulled if you go through the thing. And the TSA guys are getting all mad. We stayed an extra day and left on Monday, and there were still. I saw one while we were going through security, somebody that got pulled out of somebody's bag, and the guy just like picks it up and looks at it and like shakes his head wearily and puts it back down. And I was like, yeah, they've probably been through a lot of these now.
Oh God, it's another one of them.
And somebody
damn stuffed animals.
Somebody else posted that while they were in the TSA line, somebody yelled out like, if you have a 1,000-page book in your bag, you're gonna have to take it out. So apparently, like, just a lot of paper also trips something if it's like a big thick chunk.
That's interesting.
Yeah, mine got stopped, but that's because I had magnets from the pins that I was handing out, or the buttons rather than actually pins.
Oh yeah. Did you hand out the same ones we had that first time?
Yeah, I handed out what we had left of pins or buttons and slap bracelets from the first time. I still haven't gone through all of them, but
Nice.
The somebody that I know in the Collectors Guild started a thing where it was like what they called world swappers, where it's like a bunch of people brought like little stuff that they'd made or bought or something. Like there were bracelets and bookmarks and pins and all sorts of stuff, and it was like you put a ribbon on your badge, and then if you saw somebody else with a ribbon, you're like, hey, let's trade, and you would trade like what you each brought. So I got a bunch of cool stuff out of that. Somebody had made like little spheres like in the book with a little gem in the middle. That was very cool. I got one of those, and little paintings and all sorts of. I got a couple of cool bookmarks. But so I would be like, here, I'd be like, I have two things. Do you like Spook or do you not like Spook? And that will determine which of these two you get.
How many people did not like Spook?
Very few people did not like Spook. I probably got like maybe 5. And that's including some people who, after I told them I had two things, they're like, I also have two things. Do you want to just trade for both? Most people were like, yeah, I like Spook. A few people were like, who is that? I had to run them. Oh, right. I haven't read that one in a while. Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah,
How do you
he's
forget
okay.
Spook? Like, whether you like him or dislike him, how do you forget who he is if you've read that book?
Right? Yeah, that was my thing. But some people are like much more Stormlight fans than say Mistborn fans, and so maybe they've read Stormlight 5 times and Mistborn once ever, and so they don't remember as much about it.
Yeah, true.
But so yes, that was fun. I did lots of swapping. Lots of people walked away with slap bracelets and buttons and things. But yes, don't go through TSA with the Chull. It's too late. Everyone should know that by now. If you're still in Salt Lake City after that, then you've been there a long time at this point.
It's gonna go down in like Salt Lake Airport's urban legends. It's like, do you remember that weekend with all the fucking crab plushies?
Right?
What the fuck was that about?
Oh, it's so true.
They were like, just for one weekend, all these crabs, and then they were gone.
Yeah.
They were gone.
It's like that author. It was that weird author. His name's like Brandon Sacker or something. I don't know. Yeah, it was awful.
Those are real big. I haven't found a good place for mine yet. Like it needs the two little mandibles like under his eyes are just glued on, and so people have had issues with them coming off if you're too rough with it. So that's there's another PSA for anyone who got a Chull plushie is be careful. Don't be too rough with it. The glued thingies can pop off.
There you go. The more you know.
The more you know. But so the Chasm Fiend probably eats Chulls is what she's decided, and she wonders why this one is still here. Like they seem to only come to the Shattered Plains to pupate. There's not much food here, which is why they attack people. Why is this guy still here? Maybe this guy's just discovered. Like they're always having these fights on the plateaus, and dead people end up in the chasms. So maybe he's just like, easy food. But while it's snacking, they take off and they manage to get away. And Shallan is excited. She's like, oh my gosh, I saw one. How magnificent. It was what a majestic creature. I have to draw it. And eventually she's getting tired, and Kaladin says we have to stop for the night. And she says, I'm sorry. And he's like, no, it's not you. I have no idea where we're going at this point. I want to wait for the sun to come up, and that'll give us an idea of which way to go.
I'm just utterly confused.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like a maze down here. I don't blame him.
Yeah, well, apparently it's like a mirror maze.
Yeah, if anything,
find out.
If anything, Kaladin is a little too confident in his ability to find their way, because that leads them into trouble. And then they have maybe their first actually kind of amiable moment where she says something and he grunts, and she's like, the bridgeman grunt. A language unto itself. I'm not quite fluent yet. And he's like, you'd make a terrible bridgeman. Too short? Well, yeah, and too female. I doubt you'd look good in the traditional short trousers and open vest. Or rather, you'd probably look too good. It might be a little distracting. And then she starts drawing. He's like, you're not drawing a picture of you wearing that outfit, are you? She's like, yes, totally. We've been together for a few hours, and I'm drawing salacious pictures of myself for you. That's how I roll. And she starts mapping out the path that they've taken. And when he's like, oh, how do you remember it that well? She has to be like, oh, no, I'm guessing, basically. Trying to hide your abilities. Get you in trouble.
Must hide map-making abilities. Later on, though, Shardblade? Yeah, let's do it.
Well, it's a little more of a dire situation later on, to be fair.
I know.
What if instead of revealing her Shardblade, that's when she was like, I have something I have to admit. I'm better at maps than I told you.
Yeah, I
Right.
have like an eidetic memory for things I see.
Something that would have been helpful yesterday. He's like, oh man, if your map's correct, we're making our way south instead of west. I need to navigate better. We need some light. And then the next morning, we find out that Kaladin is apparently a morning person. At least today he is. And Shallan is not a morning person at all.
It's their equivalent of coffee. Chell juice?
Ew, that doesn't sound good. Crab juice.
It's like
Crab
blue
colache.
milk.
Oh, blue. Oh my gosh, somebody asked. I saw a whole thing about it where somebody asked. I don't even remember who. It wasn't Brandon. It was somebody else. They're like, "Can you milk a chull?"
Ugh.
And it was like, well, I mean, they're not mammals, so I think they came down on no. There is no such thing as chull milk.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. They're not mammals.
Yeah, glad we got that sorted.
Are you?
It was
I
very
mean,
important for Dak to know
it's
about the
not
milk.
gonna
Yeah,
It means it's not going to come up again.
true.
Yeah. Like dinosaur erotica.
Crossed that
And
bridge, and then we threw the latch and it sent it down to the chasm. We don't have to talk about it again.
That's right.
Ooh, that's a nice metaphor you can use now that you know that's there. Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Shallan is very mad because Kaladin is very chipper this morning. So mad that she throws a piece of chull meat at him when he's not looking, and he catches it, and she's like, I hate him. And he's just like, I mean, we didn't get eaten by a chasm fiend while we slept. I think that's about as much blessing as we could expect under the circumstances. We want to let's get going. Your map gave me some idea about which way to head. We want to beat the high storm, right? And she's like, you're the one I want to beat with a stick. What was that? Nothing. She's cranky in the morning.
It's like she eventually finds her way out. It's like, where's Kaladin? And she's wiping blood off the shard blade. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen him. Weird, right?
And where'd you get that shard blade? And whose blood is that? Don't worry about
Some
it.
guys. Some chull or chasm fiend. I don't know.
Found it all down the
yeah.
chasm. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Some dark-eyed guy. Well, that's all you need to know.
And she starts like talking to him, and he's like, look, I don't want to have another argument, okay? She's like, you won't. It's too early for arguments. Try it. Give me an insult. I don't insult now. And this one of my favorite insults of their conversation. I'd rather walk these chasms with a compulsive murderer than you. At least then, when conversation got tedious, I'd have an easy way out. She's like, and your feet stink. See, too early. I can't possibly be witty at this hour. And there's a whole thing where she calls him malodorous, and she's gonna paint a picture of it. And he's like, how would you even depict that in a painting? Besides, I'm not malodorous. Oh, so you're getting better? Yay. And he's like, Stormwoman, I don't know what to make of you. And she's like, preferably not a corpse. Surprised someone hasn't done that already. But then he's like, no, okay, let's be legit here. Why are you here? Well, you see, there was a bridge that collapsed, and no.
That was brilliant. That got me laughing.
Oh yeah, it was good. And she says, okay, honest, I came here because of Yasna Colin's work. There's scholarship that she left behind that's super important. And he's like, well, what about Adolin? Adolin is a delightful surprise. And they get into it, and he's kind of making some guesses about Yasna's research. He's like, it had something to do with those structures hidden out there. And he even calls her out, like, you made all this noise about wanting to get out to see a chasm fiend, but like they could have easily dragged a chrysalis back to you instead of you going out to see one.
I feel like taking her to see one is easier than going out there and dragging one back across the bridges.
Well, but not as dangerous for taking an important light-eyed woman out into danger, which it ended up being rather dangerous. Not only did the Parshendi attack, but there was an attempt at assassination.
Sure, but like, you got all these guys dragging a dead chasm fiend back. Like, that's not a small thing. That's going to take a while there, and they're open for attack any time, so you're still going to lose people.
Yes, that's possible. Yeah, you got a point. And she thinks, like, this guy talks like an educated Light Eyes, but he's got slave brands on his head, and I'm pretty sure one of those says Shosh, which, as you may remember, it means dangerous. And he's like, there's a treasure out there, isn't there? Like riches, that's what you're looking for. But no, you could have wealth easily enough by marriage. And then we find out that he's done a little homework on her. The Devar house really does have a daughter your age, and you match her description. If you were an imposter, you'd pick someone more important, right? And his men overheard her talking to Adolin about the parchment and reported back on that. according to them, you were wanting to like have them killed or something. She's like, no, I'm worried they might betray us. And he's like, okay, well, what would you want to do with them? And she's like, have them exiled. He's like, oh, and who would replace them? Dark Eyes? They'd need a lot more slaves all of a sudden. She's like, still sore about what happened to you, I assume. Well, wouldn't you be? I mean, he got made a slave. That's not like you get over that real quick sort of thing, Shallan. You don't get it.
Yeah. I had my freedom taken away and literally a brand put on my forehead. That's not something you just move on from.
Yeah. And eventually, she convinces Kaladin to come out with it, and he has a whole speech like prepared about how like it must have been easy growing up all pampered with everything you want. I'm sure to someone like you, life is all sunny and wonderful all the time. You haven't dealt with pain or death like I have.
And as he's saying all these things, I'm like, oh man, you have no idea. Really, Kaladin, shut up.
Right? Yeah.
It's like later on when she hands him the shard blade, he's like, what the fuck is that? He said, and she just goes, oh, this is the thing I used on the last person who assumed they knew what I was about.
I mean, you're not wrong, yeah. And I love her response to that, where she's like, I'm trying to decide how to react. You see, you've just said something very, very funny. Why aren't you laughing? Well, it isn't that kind of funny. And eventually she's like, okay, look, how about this? I promise solemnly by the 10th name of the Almighty that I mean no harm to Adolin or his family. I mean to prevent a disaster. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misguided. But I vow to you that I am sincere. And he believes her. It's like, okay. And just then they notice that they've apparently started going the wrong way again. And she's like, damn it. I'm going to have to draw this out. Hold on. And that brings us to our final chapter, Vigil. In the epigraph, he bears the weight of God's own divine hatred, separated from the virtues that gave it context. He is what we made him to be, old friend, and that is what he unfortunately wished to become. Well, that's nice.
Angry young man.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if that's what Race wanted to become. Yeah. And Vigil, we cut to Teft. We get a Teft perspective. And we start finding out about Teft's history, which we've wondered about. Like, where did he get this information from? And it's pretty fucked up, just like most people's history on this world that we've learned.
Yeah, there really isn't, like this planet. I mean, I know, like, Scadrial was also, like, not exactly happiness and sunshine, but it really seems like just everywhere on Scadrial, everyone on Rosha, like, just is full of fucked upness.
Yeah. And, look, Teft is sitting here with Sigzil, and apparently he's, like, he keeps telling Sigzil about his history and then being like, I don't want to talk about this. And Sigzil's just like, yeah, no, that's fine. We don't have to talk about it. And then he keeps going. And they're out here waiting at the edge of Dalinar's camp. High storm's coming tonight. And they're like, Kaladin's going to come out. And so Teft talks about his parents were part of a cult called the Invisagers. They thought if you could find a way to return the Voidbringers, then the Knights Radiant would return as well. Stupid, right? Only they knew things they shouldn't know, like what the Knights could do. And Sigzil's like, I can see this is hard for you. You just want to play another game? And Teft's like, you just want my spheres. I thought you'd like it. It's a game of skill, not chance, so it doesn't offend Vorin's sensibilities. And there's an interesting little moment here where Teft's like, maybe I should just lose all my spheres in this game. It wasn't good for him to have money again. He couldn't be trusted with money. So interesting. What's that about? They thought that people in danger were more likely to manifest powers. So they put lives in danger. Not innocents, members of their own group. I watched people let themselves be pushed off cliffs, tied in place with a candle, slowly burning a rope until it snapped and dropped a rock on them. It was bad.
That's some Edgar Allan Poe shit.
Right? Yeah.
But also this whole, if you put your lives in danger, you might gain powers. I'm like, that sounds, speaking of Scadrial, an awful lot like snapping.
It kind of does, right? And so Sigzil was so disturbed by all of this, he was a boy of 6, he turned them in to the City Lord, who had a trial, and had them all executed.
You mean Teft.
Yeah, Teft, sorry.
Teft.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not great. It's not a great time.
And I mean, Teft was just a kid, so he probably didn't understand the ramifications, but he's like, I never did understand that. They were only a danger to themselves. Their punishment for, like, being suicidal was to be killed.
Oh, when you put it that way, yep, that's weird.
Yeah. So Teft's mother was the one in that rock string contraption. And Sigzil's like, wait, you watched that? And they're like, what? No, they wouldn't have let their own son watch that. Are you crazy? It was a perfectly logical conclusion since he said he saw that happen. But anyway, and his father was hanged.
I guess he saw a lot of people go through the rock thing. They're just like, hey, you can watch it any other time, but when it's your mum, no, that's too much.
Yeah. Teft wasn't one for all that nonsense. Like Moash talked about overturning the light eyes and such. Almighty had put them in their place, and who had business questioning him? Not a spearman, that's for sure. And Prince Renarin was just as bad as Moash. Neither knew their place. But of course, Moash was one of them now. And here comes Dalinar, with Drahi and Scar guarding him. Moash was promoted away. Kaladin is, well, not there. So Teft had taken over the daily assignments. No one else would storm and do it. They said he was in command now. Idiots. Teft is grumpy even in his own thoughts. It's great.
Also, he has sickeningly poor self-esteem.
No joke. Yeah. Which is funny because you wouldn't really have thought that necessarily from what we've seen of him before, but it's kind of sad being in his head.
Yeah.
And so Dalinar's like, so Adolin told me you guys were coming out here. Renarin is over here also. A rotation, I understand. You really think he's alive out there, soldier? And Teft's like, he is, sir. It's not about what I or anyone thinks. And Dalinar goes, he fell hundreds of feet. And Teft just stands there. The High Prince hadn't asked a question, so Teft didn't give a reply. And Sixel goes, he is going to come back, sir. He's going to come climbing right out of that chasm right there, and it'll be well if we're here to meet him. Uniforms on, spears polished. And Teft's like, hey, we're doing this on our own time. Nobody's supposed to be anywhere else. And Dalinar's like, I didn't come out here to tell you guys to stop. I want to make certain you're taking care of yourselves. No skipping meals or waiting out here during a high storm or something like that. And then he says, good luck. He's dead, but I understand that you need to be here anyway. And that section ends with Teft thinking, like, it's a high storm tonight. Come on. What are you doing out there? And shockingly, Teft is pretty much right.
Teft is sitting there going, Kaladin, hurry up, man. Like, all for the big reveal, the big finish. You can't just emerge. I get it. But seriously, dude, get back up here.
Kaladin needs to be dramatic. We cut to Kaladin, who feels like one of the 10 fools, but most specifically Ishu, who spoke of things he did not understand in front of those who did. We've heard the 10 fools referenced before, but I think that's the first time we've heard of one specifically called out. And I like this
foolish of the fools.
I like this very specific character trait of speaking of stuff that you do not know in front of people who do know. So he's been leading them, but they've discovered that like he's messed it up, and he thought that like because the water always blows from east to west, that he could identify which way it was based on how like the debris settles. But the water kind of flows back out also after the storm, so it's not always like a perfect system. And also, it's a convoluted series of tunnels down here, so he starts yelling for Sylphrina, but she does not show up.
He's like, you're in trouble. Where are you, Sylphrina?
And at this point, there are 7 hours until the high storm comes, and he's like, shit, this is not good. And he sees what Shallan is drawing, and she's like, holy crap, that's super accurate. She's like, yeah, I might have underplayed my skills a little last night. But she's like, something is weird here. My sketch may be off. I need more information. I'm going to walk around one of these plateaus. And he says, look, we don't have a lot of time. She's like, no, this is important. Well, so is not getting crushed in a high storm. He's like, hey, if we don't figure out where we're going, we're never going to get out of here. So hold on. And he realizes, like, if what she's drawn is right, not only have they not been heading west the whole time, he had them going back east for a while. They're even farther from Dalinar's camp than where they had begun the night before. So yeah, that's bad. And so she's once again talking to herself. I know, I said that I saw these patterns, but this is too grand a scale for me to know instinctively. You should have said something. And then she sees Kaladin, and she's like, He's like, wait a second. But no, she can't be a Knight's Radiant. She's no warrior. But still had seen some weird spread around. So he's already suspicious a little bit here. And she says her drawing is accurate, but it's weird because from her memory of the maps, this set of plateaus should be further to the north. In fact, they exactly mirror another set of plateaus to the north. And he's just like he's like, okay, what are the chances of a series of plateaus being the exact same shape? Not just one, but a whole series. And he goes, what are you talking about? The planes are symmetrical. And she's, how do you know that? And he goes, well, it was a dream. I saw the plateaus arranged in a wide symmetrical formation.
I was strung up in a high storm. I talked to God, and then I saw it sometime later. You know how it is.
Dude, I took some peyote. It got wild. I don't know what to tell you.
And she goes, cymatics, which do you guys remember what that's about?
Is that Capsol in his sand bowl?
It was Capsol in the sand bowl. When he hit it in a certain way, it created the exact design of like these major cities. And then she's like, I know where the Barshendi are. And the Oathgate, the center of the Shattered Plains. I can almost see the whole map in my. Okay, we have to get back. And he goes, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. There's a high storm. No, more than that. I know too much to die now. The Shattered Plains are a pattern. This is not a natural formation. The center was a city and something broke it apart. a weapon vibrations like sand on a plate. An earthquake that could break rock, stone became sand, and then the high storm blew the sand out, and that's what created these big cracks, these chasms. And so he's like, wait, the secret you're searching for? What did you say? An oath gate? And she's like, she blushes and it's like, let's keep moving. Didn't you say we have so little time? Honestly, if one of us weren't chatting away all the time and distracting everyone. But now, every so often, Shallan has to stop and walk around to sketch a plateau, and it's slowing them way down. But at least they're going in the right direction. So, And every once in a while, he tries screaming for the scouts. Maybe somebody up there will hear now that they're getting closer to the camps, but no luck. They're probably already broken down their watch posts and are in their cubbies waiting for the high storm. And when Shallan goes away, he's yelling like, Syl, please, are you there? Is this a punishment or what's wrong?
That's depressing.
Yeah, his friend is gone. And like at one point, Shallan's like, you wouldn't be willing to carry me a little ways, would you? Think how great it could be. I get like a reed and whip you like a chull. No? I know you like, making jokes, but that's a little bit messed up, honestly, to a former slave. He doesn't take it bad, though. He's just like, you're strange. And she says, thank you. And he's just feeling bad because he took the lead and got them lost. And he's like, I've killed us. This is all my fault. Because he likes taking the blame. He likes feeling at fault for things. That's like his bag. And she's like, hey,
the
if
Kaladin superpower, incredible stormlight powers, and also taking the blame for everything. Super guilt.
Yeah, super guilt. Exactly. She's like, if I told you like what I could do, then you would have used that earlier and we wouldn't have been, there's blame to go around, right? Let's just go. And she's like, yeah, it'll be fine. We'll make it. You'll see. And she's like, you think I'm too optimistic, huh? And he goes, it's not your fault. I'd rather be like you. I'd rather not have lived the life I had. I would that the world was only full of people like you, Shallan Devar. She's like, people who don't understand pain. And he's like, well, no, everyone understands pain. That's not what I'm talking about. And she cuts in the sorrow of watching life crumble, of struggling to grab it and hold on, but feeling hope become stringy sinew and blood beneath your fingers as everything collapses. It's not sorrow, but something deeper, the sensation of being broken, of being crushed so often and so hatefully that emotion becomes something you can only wish for. If only you could cry, because then you'd feel something. Instead, there's just this haze like you're already dead. And
cue the
she goes on. I'm going to go through the whole thing.
Yeah, cue the emo music, like, it's like, don't waste your time on me, you're already... Yeah, just do it all. Do it all up. It's a good moment.
Kaladin's like, normally I dispense with the emo-ness rather than absorb it.
It's true. He is the font of emo.
He's like, finally, somebody who understands. Too bad you're, engaged to my friend. I guess he's my friend.
Friend, asterisk.
Yeah.
I feel like the part that really resonates is when she's just like, they break the ones you love and not you. And you plead, can't you just beat me instead? And he goes, yes. She's like, yeah, it would be nice if nobody in the world knew those kind of things. And that's the moment where he's just like, he sees it there. Like, she knew. It was there inside. She'd been broken. And then she smiled. She smiled anyway. And he says, how? And she goes, it helps if you're crazy. Come on. I do believe we're under a slight time of constraint. So yeah, that is the remarkable part to Kaladin, is like, this is someone else who's felt this, but she can still like be happy.
Well, she's also slightly crazy, so.
And that's what she said. So like she's telling the truth.
And her broken as well is like a lot of long-term, being broken over a really long period of time. Where like Kaladin's like had some horrible things happen, but like his childhood and stuff was not like he had a loving family and all that sort of stuff. Where Shallan's like, my family's been messed up for a really, really long time. Like, this is how I live. This is just my life now.
Yeah, you don't even know, man.
Yeah, I wonder if he knew those specifics. Like, would he recognize that it's like, oh man, like I had this loving family. Look how much worse things could have been.
Yeah. It's like, actually, she's probably a lot more broken than you. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. You've had some terrible, terrible things happen to you, and becoming a slave and losing your brother. And like, these are all very, very bad things. And you absolutely are validated in how you feel. But you could have had it worse. Shallan had a very, very terrible upbringing, and she's learned to find the brightness. This is why she is the way she is. Yes, she is broken, and you need to cut her some slack.
Yeah, it's almost a Kelsier Vin dynamic again. Like, Kelsier...
Little.
He kind of grew up like kind of elevated, and then that kind of unraveled because of what was going on with his mom's, and she wasn't actually nobility, and then like he becomes a thief, and he's kind of the master of his domain doing his own thing, and then Why am I explaining Brandon Sanderson to people listening? They've read the book if they're here, but you understand what I mean. Like Vin had it way worse than Kelsier, but she was also more willing to give people in different circumstances a chance, whereas Kelsier was not. And then we've got Kaladin who's like, no, light eyes suck.
Yeah.
Although Kelsier was also like the cheerful one, where he was always smiling and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, how does he do that? Like, our lives are shit. How can he smile?
Yeah, she had to learn, some different harsh realities. But I feel like for Kelsier, a lot of times the smile was acting and it was like a facade. Whereas for Shallan, yeah, it's probably a facade because she's a little crazy, but
Yeah. I was waiting earlier for when she's saying, "Oh, this guy's an educated. He's not just a typical soldier. He has received some higher education." And it's like, well, what's that about? She's like, and he goes, "Oh, my dad was a surgeon. He made me he trained me to look critically at things and that whole process. He really wanted me to become a surgeon, but wasn't able to do it. Dads, right?" And she just goes, "Well, I killed mine, so."
Yeah, do you ever try that? It might help you out.
Yeah, just kill the people you love. It's all good.
And they have a whole conversation after this where it's like, I think we should focus on the positive side of being down here in a chasm. Our clothes will get washed. We'll get a bath. All that. I'm glad we're here because the sun is far too bright up above. No sunburn down here, just monsters. Kaladin, I'm glad we're down here because when we get out, everyone will cheer for me for being a hero and rescuing you. And she's like, well, actually, I'm the one rescuing you. And he goes, okay, point. He can admit it.
Yeah, well, shut up.
I'm glad we're down here, she says, because I always wondered what it was like to be a chunk of meat traveling through a digestive system. And that's what this reminds me of. And he's like, wait, are you serious? Oh, no.
What are you talking about?
You really do try too hard.
I've honestly, the first time I read this, I missed these chasms remind me of the intestines. And I thought, is she making a joke about being eaten by the chasm fiend?
I'll get my chance to experience being eaten by a chasm fiend. It's great. He says, you really do try too hard. And she goes, it's what keeps me insane. It's okay. We find out that Kaladin's mother loved wordplay. And she'd be mad that I tried to do it when she wasn't around to laugh at me. So that's a cute little fact about his family. I don't think we ever learned that much about his mother, to be honest. We saw her some, but
I feel like that wordplay thing was in one of the chapters, very.
I think it was, yeah,
kind of subtly.
Hey, he starts yelling, is anyone up there? We're down here and we're making bad puns. Please save us from ourselves. So they're having fun, about to die in a pit. But then they start hearing something like a horn's call, but overlapping itself. Oh shit, it's the chasm fiend. And they start running again, and it's getting close. And they find a crack that they can squeeze into to hide. And then the chasm fiend fell silent as they're squeezed in here. And Kaladin twists around, uses the spheres they have on the end of his spear to give a little bit of light, and peers out there. Where's the chasm fiend? And then Shallan gasps, and he looks higher, and there is the large inhuman eye watching them in this crack. You can't see most of it, just its face, the face and the jaw, and the terrible glassy green eye. And then a claw tries to get in there at them, but it can't. And then it kind of stops, and she goes, it's waiting. And he goes, you sound proud of it. He's like, I mean, a little. How long do you suppose until? And then he looks up. The sky is starting to get dark. Not sunset yet, but close. Maybe 2 hours until the high storm hits. And Shallan is trying to get a closer look at it. She seems fascinated, and he's like, what a crazy woman. What is? And so she's like, what do? We wait? We've got 2 hours left to get out of here. There's a giant monster trying to eat us. What do we do? And Kaladin's thinking, I survived a high storm once, but I could use Stormlight then. I can't. He's tried to suck in Stormlight since then, and he can't get it. This would not be a fun way to die down here. And so he makes a decision, and he starts to step out there, and he goes, when I'm out, you run the other way. I'll distract it. And he tries some bullshit about hey, we'll meet back up here. It's fine. And she says, liar. And he says, okay, well, you get back to the war camps on your own. I can't do it. You can. And you have the information down on our needs. I don't. So this is the only logical thing to do. And she goes, I hate logic. Always have. And she's like, you can't do this. And he says, I can. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a lucky hit in. Please don't leave me down in these chasms alone. It's really that hard for you to let me win one single argument. And he tells her, apologize to Adolin for me. I actually kind of like him. He's a good man. I've never given him the credit he deserves. And he tells her, this is going to happen. This has to happen. And she goes, okay, at least take this. Take what? This. And she summons her shard blade, and that is where we end things.
Take this thing. This you're gonna, it might help.
He's just like, why the fuck do people keep trying to give me these?
It's true. Oh, not the first time.
At least this one.
Also, didn't think about pulling it out last time you faced down a Chasm Fiend
Yeah.
as well. Like, really? Okay.
She always chose to run.
I was going to show you. Well, when I brought up that thing, here's the other thing that we got in our for being VIPs. We got special additional little prize here. I was going to use a picture of someone using one. They are cool Bridge 4 blankets. Very soft. Very, very nice. They sold some of them in the store, but the
Nice.
VIP ones have like a leather patch attached that says Dragonsteel Nexus 2024 VIP. So that's cool.
Fancy.
I'm just reminded of it because I'm using it here at my desk chair. So that's the end of our section. Let's move into predicaments for the next episode, which may be a ways off, but we're going to finish out part 4. That'll leave us with only part 5 left, which, and the epigraphs. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 episodes of part 5, and then there's 1 episode of the epigraphs.
Epilogues?
No, not either of those. Interludes, sorry.
Right.
So we have 4 chapters for next time, and then interludes, and then the final part. But the 4 chapters for next time are called 72 is Selfish Reasons, 73 is 1,000 Scurrying Creatures, 74 is Striding the Storm, and 75 is True Glory.
Okay. Well, Striding the Storm, I suspect is when the high storm is going to hit. So a couple of hours from now, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to wait it out or figure out how to survive in that. I'm not sure how that's going to work out for them. Sort of hoping they wouldn't be still down in the chasms by that point, but it's not looking particularly good. So,
yeah.
And the final chapter name, something about glory, that could be that cinematic. They've emerged right where Teft was stationed. Yes, finally made it out of the chasms after the high storm hits, because then it's even far more impressive. So I don't know how they're going to explain that. They're going to have to come clean for sure. The next 2 chapters, look, realistically, we're facing down the Chasm Fiend at the moment, and the thousands of scurrying creatures, or whatever that one's called, it just sounds gross.
Right?
I don't know. Maybe when you, chop a Chasm Fiend's leg off or something, it, regenerates and becomes its own creature, or it has chasm friends, It's just, they'll all be there. Yeah, that's really all I've got in terms of chapter titles. And in terms of predictions, I think I'm really not looking super far in the future. We've got to get through this giant hurdle to get through. But I'm hoping what we see in the next chapter is maybe for us some answers as to why Shallan has got the shard blade. Like we've stitched some things together, but we've never really had the what actually happened discussion. So like that would be good. However, I feel like while you're staring down a Chasm Fiend is probably not the time to have that conversation. So I would like a little bit of information before we move forward. I don't think we're going to lose either of Kaladin or Shallan in these chapters. I don't think we're ready to do that yet. We've still got a lot of a journey to go on with them, with their powers, and getting some things resolved. Maybe Kaladin actually handling the shard blade might maybe help things with Syl or not. I don't know. Maybe it sets him on a direction or a mindset that's better, more honorable. It's making me anxious that Syl and Kaladin aren't gelling like they did. So I need them to work it out. I need Kaladin to work it out so that Syl can come back and everything's fine. How long that takes, who knows? But I suspect he's going to have to figure out a way to make it work before they're actually able to get out of the chasms. Because the only other thing that's going to happen is they get back to where it's shallow enough that someone can throw them a ladder. Like Teft can hear them going, please, we're still making bad puns and help us. It's I don't know. There's so many things that could happen. There's so many things. It's crazy. I think we'll probably see, like, most of the next few chapters will be Kaladin and Shallan's perspective. I think, but what I'm hoping for is we get that random guy's perspective for when they do actually emerge, because that's always exciting when you start getting some random person's insights and you're like, oh, something's going to be good. It's going to happen. But yeah, it's really all I've got. Plenty of things that I want to happen, but I think I'm being a little optimistic in that they're going to happen soon. There's still a lot of books to cover.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought that, like, him handling the Shardblade could do something, because Syl has not been a fan of Shardblades. Like, she doesn't even want him to use one to practice with. That's why he hasn't.
No.
So, like, maybe she'd show up. She'd be like, what are you doing? Like, stop that if he started handling a Shardblade.
Yeah. Like, he could annoy her enough to actually turn up, maybe.
I don't know. That's usually not the best way to, like, smooth out an argument you've been having with someone, is to annoy them until they show up. But
no, that's right. But maybe Patton could actually provide some insight on what Kaladin needs to do. Like, maybe Patton, like, Shallan's revealed that she's got a Shardblade. Kaladin already thinks or is suspicious that Shallan may have more going on. So the fact that she's got a Shardblade, it's not too far a leap to go, maybe you do actually have radiant abilities. Not because you have a Shardblade, but clearly there's more than meets the eye. And then if he knows about her abilities and that she has a Spren, if he tells her about his abilities and that he also has a Spren but she's not there, then maybe Kaladin could talk to Patton as well. Like, I don't know if it's like a faux pas for you to talk to someone else's Spren, but there could be some
it's not done.
Advice. It's just not the way of things. But maybe there's some insight there or something that Patton can, some advice or some direction for Kaladin to be able to get back on track.
That would be nice. We need something to get him back on track, right?
Definitely.
I also will share with you guys that the chapter title, I think is the last one that we're going to read, True Glory. That is not the first time that we've heard the phrase True Glory in these books. And so I was gonna read to you guys back in Way of Kings, chapter 64. The epigraph is one of those from 13 seconds pre-death. A rickshaw puller says this: "They come from the pit, two dead men, a heart in their hands, and I know that I have seen true glory."
Oh, interesting.
So maybe relevant. It's just a very specific sort of statement there. So I thought.
Well, it sounds like you got two people who they thought were dead, Kaladin and Shallan, coming out from the chasm with a heart in their hands.
Yep.
Don't know what
Gem
the heart
heart,
is.
perhaps?
Maybe a gem heart. I don't know why. What would be the purpose of? Well, I guess if Kaladin gets his Stormlight powers back, or if Shallan decides to go ahead and just use Stormlight, I guess the gem heart, she could absorb tons of Stormlight from it.
Oh, that's true.
Before I get into predictions, I am going to say that if the next chapter is a flashback for Shallan, I'm going to be super pissed.
But what if it's a really good flashback?
Don't care. Right now, don't need flashback. I mean,
Okay.
Selfish reasons, that could be that could be something that someone yells at Shallan's dad, or Shallan's dad yells at someone else. Yeah, not really sure. I feel like I don't think they're getting out of the chasm before the high storm, but I think they, like, somehow in the chaos of the storm and fighting the chasm fiend, that will give them what they need to get out. So let's see how that goes. I think that'll just be a fun action set piece. Like, what's crazier than fighting a chasm fiend, right? Fighting a chasm fiend in the storm.
That's true. That would be a hell of an action piece.
Yeah. So let's just see how that goes. I feel like there's I hope not the next chapter. Like, one of the middle two chapters is probably going to be a flashback if we're coming up on the end of a part. I hope we can just finally get to the point of the flashbacks and see what happens to Shallan's dad and find out what happened to her mum. And the end of a part, maybe we'll get one of those reveals. I really hope so. But yeah, I don't know. If we're coming up on the end of the part, maybe Kaladin gets out and he hooks up with Moash and they go to get Elhokar or something. I don't know. I honestly don't know where it's going. I just want to ride out the story at this point. You left me on a cliffhanger. I need that resolved before I can think of anything else.
Well, at least after, if we're not going to record for a while, you guys can still read those chapters and then you may not be. I mean, I guess the end of part 4 could be a huge cliffhanger too, for all you know.
That is true.
Yeah, way to go,
And
Data.
then we wait.
And then we
good
wait.
It probably is. Like, I feel like it would be weird if we ended this part without at least one more flashback and maybe some sort of payoff from the flashbacks, like you said, like a reveal of something or other. Because
the two big things we have from the flashbacks is how does Shallan kill the dad? What finally tips her off to kill the dad? And two, what the fuck happened with her mother? Because we still don't know that.
It's true.
Those are the two big things.
It was one of the middle two chapters. That's Striding the Storm was 74 and 73 is 1,000 Scurrying Creatures. I don't know which one of those. I mean, the theory about Striding the Storm would be when the high storm hits. That maybe makes sense. So if that's correct, I don't know what the hell the flashback would be about if it was 1,000 Scurrying Creatures.
I don't know. Does Nan Balat just like finally go to town and just get, I'm buying all these animals, and if like 10% of them survive, I'm cured.
We will feed our father to all of the Axehound puppies.
Yeah,
it's like it's like the scene from the live action 101 Dalmatians where all the dogs come flying out.
Scurrying is not a fun.
No, it sounds like a bug.
It does sound like a bug.
Yeah, I guess you crab scurrying would make sense, and things on this planet are all crabby, so maybe that fits. But still,
yeah, crabs do tend to scurry.
Oh, maybe 1,000 scurrying creatures. It's like maybe they kill the chasm fiend, but it's like the video game boss monsters that when they die they split into like thousands of smaller versions of it.
Oh no,
that doesn't sound good.
That would be terrible.
Or like Oogie Boogie when you unzip him and it's all bugs all the way down.
Yeah.
Or like the cockroach from Men in Black. It's just like tons of cockroaches.
It turns out that chasm fiends were just 1,000 small crabs all along. Who knew?
Dude, that'd be wild.
That would be. No one would be expecting that for sure.
So I accidentally read ahead a little bit, and I'll just be completely honest about that. I got confused about where we were stopping, and I was like, man, this is really going. So then I checked about like 2 or 3 pages into this chapter and realized, oh, I'm not supposed to read this chapter. So I know a little bit about what happened, so I'm not gonna, do an immediate prediction on that. I feel like for the first time in over 200 episodes, I accidentally read more than I was supposed to. I think I'm okay to have done that. I apologize though. So I know a little bit about what's ahead. So I'll just say I don't know. I didn't get all the way through the next chapter, so I don't know everything. So I'll just say I hope they can defeat a chasm fiend if that is what they have to do. I hope they can do it. I would guess that I would hope that it's going to be somewhat addressed why she has a shard blade. Maybe not. Don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with Jamie. I don't know that they're going to make it out before the storm hits. So could have a storm. 1,000 scurrying creatures. Yeah, don't know what that means. Your guess is as good as mine. Oogie Boogie style giant chasm fiend just full of tiny chulls. Could be.
He ate so many. You are what you eat.
Yeah, exactly. He ate so many Parshendi that they turned into tiny chitinous crab creatures inside of him. So who knows on that. Also, like, I have the sneaking suspicions, like, are all of the people somewhat crabby? Like, maybe even the human-like people have a little bit of crab DNA in them.
There's some crab in there somewhere.
Yeah, they're tasty. They're good. They're good eating.
Herdazians have like. They said that their fingernails are like crystal or something. I don't know if that's crabby, but that's a little bit different for normal people at least.
I guess that's true. So they've got some different types of peeps. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to. I'm with Dak. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm ready to ride this roller coaster. Yeah, ride the walrus. I'm ready to ride the Slurm wave. Whatever Futurama reference that you'd like in this metaphor, but I'm just excited to get to this point where finally somebody knows something interesting about somebody else, and it's not just all secrets. No matter what happens, unless Kaladin dies, which I doubt. No matter what happens, somebody's gonna know Shallan has a shard blade besides Shallan and her like immediate retinue, which is funny. That's like they all know, but nobody really talks about it.
I had kind of forgotten that like Vatha and Gaz and all of them know too. That's a good point.
Yeah, they know she has a shard blade. They know she's powerful. And
why would you remind us that Gaz is still alive?
Yeah, but that is something I've been thinking about and hasn't been addressed. Like, if everybody thinks Shallan is dead, what is her retinue? Like, what are they doing? Are they still hanging out with that guy? Have they all like scampered off? Because they're like, forget this place, we're out of here. Like, I wonder what they're doing.
Like, what have they been doing? We haven't seen them in ages.
Well, we see them like kind of tertiarily, I feel like, in some of the chapters where they're like taking her somewhere. But other than that,
I'd forgotten Gaz was a thing, hence my reaction a second ago.
Yeah, I know. Forgot he existed still.
I was a lot happier.
Why'd you remind me? So yeah, there's that whole thing too. I hadn't really put a lot of thought into that until we just kind of brought it up. What do they think's going on? Yeah, I feel like that weird True Glory thing, I feel like it has to be a reference to them escaping the chasm though. So like I would predict that they're going to escape. There are two main characters for both books. I very much doubt they're both going to die or that they're not going to be able to make it out of the chasm.
That would be a hell of a thing.
Yeah. Now, as far as Syl joining back with Kaladin, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I would hope that happens. He definitely needs her right now, so I would hope that happens. But I don't know. It's kind of sad to think about because in a way we have lost the character, right? Well, at least that
Syl's
we
been
know
around
of.
almost as long as Kaladin.
Yeah. So yeah, just ready to read the next sections, I guess.
Man, what if that was the last we saw of Syl and her death was just like a scream as Kaladin fell and then we don't know what happened? Like that would suck.
That'd be a real bummer.
Is this one of those things where you mention something that is actually what happens in the book and you disguise it as a joke, hoping we won't notice?
Yeah.
Well,
or
see,
it's like
that's the best thing is that I can do either way, and it might be. Yeah, I can do the thing where I say a thing that's definitely not going to happen, and it's funny because the audience knows that it's not going to happen. Or I can do the thing where I say a thing that absolutely does happen, and the audience finds it funny because it totally does happen, and you guys don't get it. So for me, it works either way.
I think Data's doing like a double cross on this one. I think Kaladin's gonna think Syl's gone forever, but then she's not. And then
Book 5,
like
Syl returns.
There'll be a thing where like we're like, oh no, is she really gone? And then she shows back up, and Data's like, ha,
got him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Some I don't want to give too much away by my response to some of the things that Joe said, but I will say that it would, I will reiterate that I agree with you that it would be crazy if this was the end of Kaladin and Shallan. Like they're finally kind of working some of their shit out, and they're two of like our arguably like two of the three main characters. If you like Dalinar, I think would maybe the other main character. So losing two of them at this point would be nuts. We got some people ready to step in and take their places though. Like Adolin, he could step up, be a top 3 character. We got Gaz. Gaz could take over Shallan's. I don't know how that would work.
Gaz,
no, we could not.
Lift will come back. Lift will become a main character. It's all good.
Moash could come and be Kaladin.
Yeah, Moash.
I don't think Lift is.
That's not funny.
Moash is the true hero of the story. And
oh my god. First you bring up Gaz and then Moash, and it's like, why are we just populating this episode with the worst fucking character?
Yeah.
Spook, it's just like, man, it's the greatest hits of shit.
Yeah, it's like when you're talking about the con and like you would ask people like, do you like Spook? And most of them are like, yeah, I like Spook. I'd be like, and I know that there are those people out there, but it's like, do you like Moash? And I bet most people are like, yeah, I like Moash, and I don't get that.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't get it either, but we spent a lot of time with Spook and with Moash. So if there are people out there who are just like, yeah, I can kind of get it. It's like I'll never understand your viewpoint, but I can understand that there are enough different viewpoints out there. Sure, major characters.
Yeah.
Who the fuck likes Gaz? Come on.
It's actually it's funny that you say that about like walking around asking people. I took my wife to a panel that I thought she might enjoy that was called Living with Sanderson fans or nerds or something like that, they described as
awesome
a panel for the plus ones for people who are here because like your other person is. And so I was like, oh, we'll do something
that's
that'll be
pretty
fun
amazing.
And 3 of the 4 people on the panel were people who work for Dragonsteel, but just like aren't really that into like it's just their job, right? They're not
It's a
like
job for them. They're not like into it.
and they're like, you can ask these, like, you ask one of these questions in the office and like then you can just walk away because so many of them are nerds for these stories that they'll argue about it for half an hour and you can go get a cup of coffee or whatever. But
that's fucking awesome.
But as examples, one of the things they did was walk around the convention. One of them made a video, and this was the one person who didn't work for Dragonsteel. This lady like was Daniel Green. If you guys know him, he's a book YouTuber. It was his fiance who like works on his channel with him or something, I think. So she was the other person on the panel, and she walked around and made a video of her asking people a few questions just out on the floor of the convention. And one of them was like, if you had to give like a short explanation of Adonalsium, like how would you describe that? Or like, what do you think Hoid is really after if you had to in like one sentence or something? And one of the things that she asked people was like, how do you feel about Moash? And so, the fact that it was worth a question maybe shows you there are some differing feelings about Moash.
The fact that's even a question at all speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
I mean, I like it is interesting to me when I'm in the minority of like a thought, because I'm like, what's not triggering in my brain that the majority it is triggering in their brain? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's different about how I feel about something that is not how the majority feels about it?
Sure.
Which your sample's a little skewed, right? Because in that instance, you're going to a convention for that author.
Right.
I'm sure there's plus ones that may not be that into it, but obviously they're invested enough in whoever is into it that they can like kind of get it. So like that'd be of interest to me. Like more people who are like me, Jamie and Dak, not weren't originally super into Brandon Sanderson, didn't know a lot about him and what their first impressions are of these maybe what I might call controversial characters.
Sure. Also, I like in the panel they had like, pretend to be interested. Here's some questions that you can ask, and then you just let your significant other like go on about it and nod and smile or whatever. So that was a fun panel concept. But anyway, let's move into. We have a bunch of emails, and because we're going to be off for a while, we won't have a chance to answer. So I'm going to try to get several of them in here. The first one we have is actually from Richard the Thick Book, but he has a specific thing in here. When you get to the end of chapter 84, then discuss this.
Richard himself.
Yeah. I'm gonna save yours until we get to where you said.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The next one is from Katie. Character thoughts while on maternity leave, she says. Hi, Sanderlanche crew. I fell off the podcast for a few months, but finally had the chance to catch up while on maternity leave. Thank you for entertaining me while I washed an endless cycle of baby bottles and keeping me awake for 3 a.m. feedings, though I almost woke up my daughter laughing more than once. If you have any advice for first-time parents you wish someone told you, I'm all ears. But we'll pause there for a second. Does anyone have advice for first-time parents you wish someone had told you?
She's probably already past this stage, but that like the baby blues and like being upset at having a baby is like a normal feeling. But she's probably already past that at this point.
So I think the best piece of advice I was given is you don't need to know everything at once. Don't worry about the future. Like, don't worry about how you're going to feed your baby, like solids and all that sort of stuff. You just go one day at a time. Are they clean? Can you transport them safely? Do they have somewhere to sleep? Can you feed them? Great. Start there. Just add bits of knowledge to you. And other people are going to give you advice. You don't have to take it.
Right. That's the big thing for me, yeah.
Mine was just something might work now, but it might not work in a bit. Like sleep regressions. I didn't know about them. That was the thing that fucked me up, because I thought, we finally cleared this hurdle, and then a few months later it came back, and I didn't know. Maybe I don't know if I just missed that chapter in the books or anything, but I wasn't prepared for that. So
even as your kiddo grows and develops, it's like the tricks and tools that you use to kind of like do some parent kung fu to make your kid do what you need them to do, they stop working, and you have to do it different ways. And like, you have to adapt and change to your child. And like, maybe they loved carrots on Monday, and then Wednesday they don't love carrots anymore. And it's really annoying, because like, when you ate this consistently this whole time, what's the problem now? So, just make space for yourself to like have your own feelings about like being upset with your child or frustrated with your child. That's okay. as long as you're not lashing out at your child, but like having emotions is okay. You don't have to be like parent guru on top of the parent guru mountain.
Yeah, I saw the same thing like with, it's like one day this pacifier, they'll only take this pacifier and they has to go everywhere or you're in trouble. And the next day they're like, no, I don't like that one anymore. I want a different one. And getting like frustrated about that doesn't help anything. You just got to go with it.
There's so many things. Just enjoy the ride. And if you don't enjoy it, that's okay too. Look after yourself. Make sure you get through.
Yeah. If you don't enjoy it, you don't have to have more kids.
This is a fair point. Yeah. The first time I had infants, it was twins. So it's like hard mode, if you're only do it, the one time, you may as well be hard mode.
Yeah, it's true.
Then you get all the achievements at the end of the game, right?
Yeah. Or trophies if you're a PlayStation person.
Yeah. Her email continues. Listening to you all talk about Words of Radiance, I've been thinking a lot about how much opinions on different characters can change over time. Everyone seems to be turning a corner on Adolin. I thought he was annoying in Way of Kings, but he's become one of my absolute favorite Stormlight characters overall. I was also very much not a fan of Lift when we first meet her in her interlude, but eventually changed. Steris from Mistborn Era 2 was another example. Overall, I just really enjoy how Brandon can introduce characters one way and flip your perspective as the story unfolds. Looking back, are there characters you changed your opinion on over time that really surprised you? Or are there characters you will not be swayed on and you will die on this hill besides Spook? And then before you answer that, the end of her email is about a specific subreddit. And I'm going to tell you, Katie, I'm not going to mention that yet because I don't want to potentially spoil anything. So
I think we've all mentioned Moash this episode. Like, I don't think our opinions are going to change on Moash. I think we know enough about Moash at this point that our opinions are not going to change. But then, yeah, Steris and Adolin, I think we all like started in one place on them, but then kind of flip flopped. So
yeah. I'll say probably one of the biggest ones that hasn't been mentioned yet, which I know is controversial among our listeners, is Wayne. Because like in the first book, I thought he was really funny and a cool supporting character, but as that series wore on, I started to see like the negative side of the things that he was doing, which I feel like the narrative wanted us to forgive because he was the quirky supporting character and because he had a rough life. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't excuse the way you're treating your friends at the moment. So, and then at the end of that series, like with how Wayne's story ended as well, it's kind of like it definitely wasn't a bad character. I didn't hate him, and there were things he genuinely did which were selfless and amazing and very noble of him to do. But there were things like he did in life that were like I didn't really like about his character, and he never seemed to get comeuppance for or get called on. So that bothered me. So I would say by the end of Wax and Wayne was definitely a character who my perception of him evolved constantly as the books went on.
That's true. You did go through some different stages on Wayne for sure. And I think probably of the opinions we've had on our show, that one is the most controversial because Wayne is among the fandom, quite possibly the most popular character, if not just among the like top, 5 or whatever. People
really
love Wayne, and I've had discussions on Reddit even where I'm like, look, I really loved Wayne, and then after the discussions that we've had, that I definitely see more of like the downside of Wayne, and so I'm like, I get the other side, and people are just like, what are you talking about? He's the best thing ever. And so, like, I think that may go down in podcast history as our most controversial take.
Yeah,
really?
And I do wonder how much of it is because, like, he is a good guy and he does some noble things and he's funny as shit. Does that mean people are more forgiving of his negative traits than I was?
Yeah, probably. That's what it is.
Or do people, or like, I'm not going to go down the list of things that I found negative about him. Like, you can go back and listen to that series if you want to pick them all out. But like, do people not see them as negatives in the same way I did, or they just say there's not a bigger deal? I don't know. Like, I'm curious. But yeah, I know that like because like in our comments on Instagram there was all these things about it's like this is Wayne slander. How dare you? I'm like I'm just calling it like I sees it, guys.
Yeah, different people, different opinions. That's how it works. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Again, I don't hate him.
We've all got like different people we've come across in our lives, and then what those people, may have or have not done to us, and there are traits there that you're like, yeah, I'm seeing flags, I'm seeing warning signs. So everyone can have their opinion, and that's okay.
Yeah. Move to the next one. The next one is from, I'm going to pronounce this Itai. Itai is the name. Itai. One of those. It says, hello from the past. Hello, Data, Jamie, Joe, and Tack. I started a little while ago to read for the first time the Cosmere books and was very happy to find your podcast to help me take my time thinking about what I read, confronting my thoughts to yours, and making sure I didn't miss anything. So I just finished The Well of Ascension, and I'm now listening to your last podcast for this volume before starting Hero of Ages. I don't exactly read at the same time as your past selves. I'm scared to be spoiled by your clever minds guessing correctly so many times what is going to happen, so I like to keep a few chapters ahead of you. Maybe by now you have millions of followers sending you emails every week, so this one will be lost in the middle, but I hope in a few months or years when I catch up, I will discover you read this email in one of your episodes. Thanks for the great podcast. Keep up the good work. P.S. I listen to you from Paris, France, in case you were in, it is useful for your statistics. Well, thanks. I'm glad you're enjoying it from Paris, France.
That's
I went
cool.
there one time.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, not at the same time.
No, not at the same time.
Greetings from the world of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really needed someone to do that. I was about to.
we can't not do it
Yeah.
now. Sorry.
Might not do it.
Right.
We got like 10 more emails, but I'm just going to read a couple more since we're running long into this one. The next one's from Rory. Or Ruar. I'm pretty sure that they've sent in something before, but and I'm just not pronouncing it. I think they told me how to pronounce it last time. I go back and look, but it says
Doesn't ring a
data appreciation email, which that's always a good. I like seeing that subject in the email box. I'm good for it.
Way to jump to the top of the pile.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Sanderlanche crew, it's me again. I was listening to the latest episodes and randomly remembered a moment from a while back and thought to myself, dang, Data is really good at this kind of thing. Then you went ahead and had another moment like that, so I just grabbed my phone and started writing this email mid-episode. You may have to not read this part or censor bits, but your ability to jokingly spoil stuff is amazing to me. Hey, we've just talked about that. Back in, I think, Mistborn Era 1, the crew were joking about an Inquisitor gets his head spikes stuck to a piece of wood, and you just casually said, I thought you meant they stuck him magically, and I was like, that's a whole different series. Beautiful. So, yep, there you go. Sticking people to stuff magically is a thing that has happened in this book.
That's true.
And then and then they bring up one other thing that I have said since we started Stormlight that has not yet paid off, so I'm not going to read that one. But just know it's out there somewhere. Actually, two more things that I've said that have not paid off yet. So anyway, the way you managed to say this stuff without even the slightest change in tone is chef's kiss. Keep up the great work. These moments are the absolute highlight for me. Also, to not make this exclusively an email where I sing your praises, you recently came upon one of my favorite quotes from the book when Kaladin says, honor is dead, but I'll do my best. What are your guys' favorite quotes from the Cosmere so far?
That's a tough one. I feel like I've forgotten a lot of good quotes.
Right? I'm sure I have.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know there were definitely quotes. I mean, I spent most of the original Mistborn trilogy telling Data he missed the best line of this section, but like that was
Yep.
Man, like we read those books years ago and I haven't read them since. I need to go back.
Right, and there's lots of Wayneisms that were pretty funny at the time, but like I don't remember.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite Brandon book quotes actually come from outside the Cosmere. Like, it's silly to say, but the Alcatraz series is directed at like kids. It's a series he did in conjunction with Scholastic. So, but it's like an out and out comedic fantasy adventure series, and so there's lots of great quotes in that I love and that I think about when I think about best Brandon quotes because they're just funny and it's designed that way. For instance, I just to try to remind myself, I googled like best Brandon Sanderson quotes to be like, which ones? And one of them the first ones that came up is, you see, this is the sad, sorry, terrible thing about sarcasm. It's really funny, and that's an Alcatraz quote. So we'll get there someday, maybe.
Someday, far away from here.
Yeah, the Cosmere
Saw stars that I could reach. It's a quote from a song.
Let me see. We will do. There's a couple more shorter ones that we can do. This one's from Ethan. It is titled 200 Chicken Nuggets. Dear Data, Dak, Jamie, and Joe, spelled Joh, and then in parentheses, no one ever spells his name wrong. Which he
that's not true. I've seen some JOs.
Ethan got everyone else's name spelled correctly and did Joe's wrong, so that was great. I first wanted to thank you all. I discovered your podcast around a time that all of my friends moved away and I was feeling really lost and alone. Being able to experience the Cosmere with you guys helped me get back on my feet, and life is good now. I was listening to the part where Joe mentioned how only crazy people would do something like order 200 chicken nuggets with one of my friends who had done just that. He called 2 hours ahead of time to warn them, but they didn't believe him. The look on their face when he made his order was priceless. Also, if you're curious, it costs like $60. Anyways, thanks again for all you do.
Really?
You guys are the best.
I made that joke because Data and I did that one time. Or did we order 100 chicken nuggets? I don't remember. It was a ridiculous amount of chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets are
It
good.
is a lot of
can you
nuggets.
do?
I think it was 100. I think we both said like, let's go in on this 100 chicken nuggets because they were selling them for like $20.
Yeah, there's
We
like a deal or something.
Yeah, we both tried to eat 50 chicken nuggets and we both got kind of sick.
Good times, good times.
Yeah, me and my friends once went to a place that was doing the Simpsons thing, 100 tacos for $100.
Ugh.
I mean, Taco Bell used to do like Taco Tuesday or Sunday or whatever with like 59-cent tacos.
Yeah,
or 49 cents,
59
something like that.
cents tacos, yeah.
To be fair, like 7 of us went in on that together. So
Wow,
It's still a lot of tacos.
That is
Yeah,
we didn't finish them.
That's why I said ugh, because like I can't imagine eating more than like 4 tacos. That just sounds awful.
And then Ethan sent a follow-up. Hi again. I just listened to an episode where you explicitly ask viewers to not send cat photos. So here are some cat photos. His name is Pablo, and he snuggles and does nothing else. So
Why did we ask them to do that?
When do we ask? When do we ask people? I thought we said yes. Please send your pet photos.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we did get another email with somebody who had listened to us and was like, I just listened to where you asked for pet photos. Here's some pet pictures of my dog.
Aww.
So there's another one of those that we will get to. But I put the pictures in the chat here.
This is so
What is the
confusing.
cat's name?
The cat's name was Pablo.
Pablo. Let's check out old
Pablo's
Pops.
very cute.
Oh yeah.
He
I like
only
black and
snuggles
whites.
and does nothing else.
Is this a thing among our listeners? They're all just really confused and just like, what is the Sanderlanche's official stance on pet photos?
Yeah, they hate pet photos. I don't get it.
We are
But
pro
they
pet
said they
photos.
Yes, pet photo's good.
Yeah, dude, pet photos great. I got a corgi. I show photos of him all the time. He's the best.
It's one of our most recent emails, so we're not going to get to it today. But somebody sent us puppy pictures also, so we'll save that for another time.
You like puppies?
Yay.
Delicious, delicious puppies.
Uh,
I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
okay.
I would never eat a puppy.
Okay, let's do one more. Please.
Gotta let him grow up first.
Oh gosh, this one is from James. It says, hello, started listening to you guys this year and just want to say love your podcast. I'm currently on a reread of the Stormlight Archive to get ready for Wind and Truth, and I had a thought about the Ghost Bloods because the Lost Metal wasn't out when I first went through the Cosmere, and I first met them in Words of Radiance, and I've seen them as a more nefarious / murdery organization, whereas I think because you guys met them first in the Lost Metal, the way they appear is they're helping Marasai, and maybe they're good guys. So I just
That's
thought it was
100% like our stance. It's like, we know these guys. They're great. Why are they killing people?
So I just thought how interesting how reading order could potentially influence how we see a character or a group. Also, you guys were recently thinking about who might play Rock in a live-action Stormlight, and The Rock and Dave Bautista were brought up. I just learned that apparently Brandon sees Dave Bautista as his ideal of an actor for a different Stormlight character, and I wanted to see if you could guess who it is. And then they put in a Brandon Sanderson quote in here where somebody asks him, and this will delete or take out one of the characters that this might be. Someone says, if you were ever to get a movie or TV show, who do you want to pick as Kaladin? And Brandon goes, Kaladin is a hard one because all the Alethi are going to be hard to cast because they're basically like half Japanese, half Arab. So I'm not sure. I've been thinking, though, for a different character, the guy who plays Drax the Destroyer, he's half Filipino and he has the right look for this person. So
Teft?
who do you think he would be talking about?
Teft, or is it somebody on Roshar, or is it a different series?
It is somebody on Roshar, yes.
Okay, because my first thought, honestly, which maybe this is a silly thought, was our good buddy from Elantris who says Colo.
Oh wow,
Galadon?
I wouldn't. Oh yeah, Galadon. I would not have thought of that.
Yeah, that was my first go-to, but
So my gut immediately went Tef, but I'm going to take that back. You know who I think? I don't know if this is who Brandon would pick, but I think Batista would actually be really good as Amaram.
Oh,
I think
interesting. So you feel like the big noble. Yeah, okay.
When Batista wants to play like the really personable, nice guy, he's very good at that. But then he can turn it onto that sinister, craven side. I think he'd be a good Amaram. There's a swing for you.
Weirdly, my first thought, like when Joe was saying just anybody in the Cosmere, I was like, an Inquisitor maybe? Like is he Carr? I don't know. I don't know why that was my thought. Maybe it was just because I'm imagining him like the Drax makeup, and so he the skin's a weird color or whatever. Maybe that's what, I don't know.
good old Carr.
What about you, Jamie?
I don't know. I just see Drax and I'm like, you're so funny. I don't think I've actually seen him in much else, so I would have to go and do a bit of research, I think. But no, I don't know. I also find that I tend to build up a picture in my head incorrectly of the character when I'm reading. It's like I remember some things and don't remember other things, and they look a very certain way in my brain, and I'm like, okay, I know I'm wrong. I need someone to actually show me. But yeah, I don't know.
Fair.
Dalinar, maybe.
So
in his plate.
In his plate, yeah. The quote is, "I've been thinking for Dalinar lately, the guy who plays Drax the Destroyer.
Really?
You gotta look at him not in his makeup for Guardians of the Galaxy, get a little silvering hair on there. That's my latest casting choice," he says.
Oh, I just put Dalinar out there as a throwaway, but there you go.
There you go. Jamie called it again. Look at her.
I mean, yeah, he's been in a role or two where I've seen him like act pretty fatherly, so I could see it.
Yeah, I would say he wouldn't be my first choice, but I could see it.
Yeah, but we've learned Dalinar's like older, tough, kind of grizzled. He's been specifically called out as not being very attractive, which it would be unfair to Dave, I feel like, to be like, oh, that totally fits him. But I mean, that's what the book says. So
that's funny.
Yeah. And I am not saying that I don't think Dave Bautista is an attractive guy. I am not good at judging attractiveness of men. So.
Yeah, he looks all right. You know, I'm sure he's somebody's cup of tea.
I mean, almost certainly, yeah.
So if I had someone for Dalinar, I would thought, who's the dude who was wasted in Game of Thrones and he was in Star Trek?
Game of Thrones and Star Trek, huh?
It was Prince Doran Martell in Game of Thrones. I forget his name.
I don't recall.
Alexander Siddig, that guy.
Oh, yes. Wow, okay. That would be interesting. He just appeared in this week's episode of
That's right, because he's in Deep Space Nine.
Yes, he's in Deep Space Nine, but he appeared in this week's episode of Lower Decks, which was weird because his voice did not sound like. I was like, oh, they didn't get the actor back for that character. They did. He just sounds different these days.
Yeah, I could see him doing He was Ra's al Ghul in Gotham.
I just saw that same thing. Like, wow, really?
What the fuck?
All right.
I didn't get through Gotham. It was
I didn't get that
I can
far.
kind of see him as Ra's al Ghul now that
too.
I see a picture of him in more recent days. I can totally see that.
I thought it was going to be more like a procedural for Batman characters, but it was not. It got weird. Got real soap opera-y.
Yeah.
Penguin is kind of soap opera-y, but it's been fun.
We got like 2.5 seasons through.
Did we?
Yeah.
We just stopped one day.
Yeah, it's just like we just weren't motivated to go back and keep watching.
Yeah.
I actually got talking to some of the guys that do the audio dramas with. I was just on a chat with them a little while ago, and they were talking about Gotham. And I said, yeah, we gave up after 2.5 seasons, and they said to me, oh man, you gave up right before it got good. I'm like, it had 2.5 seasons to get good. I don't feel bad.
Yeah,
about
they say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, there are shows that were really good that took a while to get good, but I don't know. That one didn't do it for me. I fell off of Once Upon a Time for the same reason. It got real soap opera in the second season. I'm like, I'm good.
See, I like Once Upon a Time real well until like way later.
Yeah, I loved Once Upon a Time up until it would have been maybe season 5, like the end of season 4 up to season 5, and I was just like, was so excited for it. I was so here for it, and then I was just like, where are they going? They can't wrap it up, and it sort of brought me back because I think it was the same team that did Lost, and I feel like Lost kind of got the same way. It's like, you guys don't know how to wrap this, and I wanna stop before you completely upset me with the end of that. So
I think you're right that season 5 is about where, like, season 4 of Once Upon a Time was like the season where they do Frozen, and
yes, yeah, I got through that one.
There was some good stuff in that, and some like not as good stuff, and that's where I feel like it starts to turn. And then after about season 5, I think that's when I'm done with it.
Yeah, I think I never made it back to Agrabah, like when they were gonna Aladdin and Jasmine.
And then
I don't think I ever saw that.
Season 6 or something, Emma turns evil or something like that. I don't remember, and it's just like ugh.
But then they and I didn't see it, so I apologize if it's spoilery or anything, but they got rid of like so many of the characters, and so there was still Regina, so the evil queen, which I'm like here for because she was my favorite. She was a great character, but everyone else was gone, and I was like, why are we continuing with this?
Yeah, I think that was
that was the final season. I think
that was the final season. Yeah. It's like
I think
we follow. I didn't watch it. I just heard about it, but I think it's like Henry is grown up now, and we're gonna follow him. And we've tossed like a bunch of the cast, including like Emma, who was the main character until now. So yeah, it's just like you were done before you got here. We should not have had this season at all.
Exactly.
There's our feelings on Once Upon a Time for anyone who's watching.
Yeah. Anybody wants to know our feelings on a show that ended like 10 years ago?
Is that all it was?
Let me see.
Maybe.
Probably 7 years ago.
It started in 2011 and it ended in 2018.
Oh wow.
So let's see, that was 6 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll save the rest of the emails. We have one Discord message that I want to make sure we got to because I will forget that it is there from Matthias. And he says, "Hey there, Data, Jamie, and Joe. Happy Wind and Truth release. Having just finished the book, I can confidently say I'm excited to see what you all have to say about it when you eventually get there."
Well, good for you.
It was a roller coaster and a half.
In about 3 years.
Right? Yeah. It's going to be a bit. I'm only like 38% of the way through because I have to read it for the Patreon and record myself. So.
Oh, you had 6 months of pre-release chapters.
That's true. That gave me a head start for sure. I was like 30% of the way through at the end of those, and now I'm 30. That shows you how far I've gotten since the book actually came out.
Yeah.
You released like half the book via his website or something through those previews.
It was almost a third of it. Yeah. Like
Jesus.
You know, it's like a 1,350 page book. You can afford to put some out. You still got more than enough book in that book.
Is it the longest? Is it the longest of the Stormlights?
I believe it is.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is because actually originally his publisher was like, we can't publish a book over 1,400 pages, so it needs to be under that. And it came at like 1,490 or something, and so it had to be cut back before they could actually print the book. So it's right at the edge of that range of what they're willing to print.
It's causing problems at airports, I hear. So.
It was a roller coaster and a half, but I enjoyed it, and I'm confident that your journey will lead to this exciting destination faster than any of us realize. Enjoy the Words of Radiance, Sanderlanche. Wasn't to the time of next Colo. So we're I think we're just about getting there into the Sanderlanche of Words of Radiance. I don't part 5. Maybe part 5 is all Sanderlanche for all we know. But that brings me to the other thing that we need to talk about is we are not going to have a new episode next week. And I'm still debating on whether we will take a break for like 4 weeks or if I'm going to come up with some stuff to fill in that gap. But I had some stuff planned and it's kind of fallen through. So I don't know for sure when we will be back, and I will keep our social medias updated to let you guys know. But the reason is because we are having baby break number 3 for the show. Dak and Jamie this week are expecting their second, and it's very exciting.
Yep.
Yes, so. We are very excited to not be pregnant anymore.
She used the symbiote we there, I feel like.
Yes. I saw this thing where it's like you are pregnancy. It's a 9-month hostage situation where you are both the building and the hostage. And it's so true.
That's great.
So yeah, we've been keeping a little secret. I don't know how well we've been keeping it, depending on Data's excellent editing abilities. But yes, we are having a baby this week, so we will be off for a couple of weeks adjusting to a family of 4, and then we'll be back to continue Sanderlanching.
You left some clues in there, Data, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I left a couple to sit in there a little bit, and I never saw anyone mention them, though. So I guess, listeners, if you want to use this time to go back and find the hidden clues in the past 9 months worth of episodes, feel free.
I don't know why you would, but...
No, I don't know why you would do that, but, So we definitely will not be back to finish part 4 of this with the crew for at least the next 4 weeks. That's generally what we've taken for the baby breaks, is we have 4 weeks in there before we get back into the actual books. So at least that long before we get back into the actual book. Maybe I will come up with some fun stuff that just me or Joe can do, or maybe we'll have a guest in. We'll see how that goes. We're getting into the holiday season, so I feel pretty confident that we'll take at least a couple of weeks off completely without something new, as trying to arrange any sort of special thing as we're getting into Christmas and stuff and this is the most busy season for me at work. So yeah, it's going to be at least a couple weeks of nothing, probably, if not 4 weeks. So like I said, as I know, I will update our social medias and let people in the Discord and all that stuff know. But at the moment, all I can say for sure is before we get back to Words of Radiance, there will be at least 4-week period. So thank you all for understanding and sticking with us through this. And we will continue to have updates on the Patreon of me reading Wind and Truth if you're interested in that sort of thing. So feel free to check that out. On the subject, I guess, if you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky and Patreon, where I'm reading Wind and Truth like 3 chapters at a time and posting my reactions to that. So if you're interested, check that stuff out. Anybody want to say anything else before we go on our break?
No. Yes. No.
No, yes, no.
Be excellent to each other.
Be excellent to each other.
Merry Christmas. Have a great break for anyone who's celebrating or not celebrating. Look
Happy
after
holidays.
yourself. Yeah.
And everyone keep Jamie and Dak in mind as they go through the fun experience of newborn on top of having a I don't know, I guess I wouldn't call her a toddler anymore, but she's
She's
still
3.5 now,
yeah.
so.
Oh man, time goes by so fast. I can't believe it's been 3.5 years since our first baby break.
Yeah, that is
It's
wild.
true. Yes, and now it's yelling at me from the other room. I'm thirsty.
Yes.
Anyone
They're
got any
always yelling
parenting
something.
advice for a newborn and a 3-year-old? Feel free to write in.
Is it better or worse when they're old enough that you can understand what they're yelling versus just screaming inarticulately at you? I don't know.
Yeah,
Let us
the
know
thing
in
is
the
that 3-year-olds
comments.
can argue back.
Yeah.
Oh, the arguing. You're right. That is that's not great.
We're getting into arguments here as well, and
Oh,
it's not
boy.
going well. It's not going well for him. He's
So
not going to win an argument with me, that's for sure.
thank you, everybody. Our emailers, our patrons. You guys are awesome. Thank you, everyone who's just been showing up every week, listening to the show. Have a good holiday season, and we will see you when we see you. Wuzzing to the time of next. Music by Miracle of Sound. Colo, PS Fashion. Crab at the.
Wow, that was
One
the
of the-
thing.
Sorry, it got me thinking about one of the emails that somebody sent. It said, like, at the end, I didn't read it, but it's like wuzzing to the time of next, Colo, etc. And then instead of crab at the, it said crab. It was one word, CRABATHY, crabathy. Like, is that what it
Crabathy.
sounds like when I say it? Damn it.
Sometimes you do say it pretty fast, I will say.
Oh, gosh.
Amnesia, you forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain, but you're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.